And panelists, here we are. Our topic is tapping into growth, tomorrow's biggest opportunities. Now, what does that mean? You know, we're all looking for growth, we're all looking for opportunities, but what does it mean? You could think of it in so many ways. Where are you going to find growth? Well, you could say geographies. You could say which industries should we look at? You could say which kind of business models should we look at? ID intensive, service intensive, labor intensive, capital intensive. You can think of it in a lot of different ways. We're going to find out what these three folks think of it as, and we're going to find out where they're finding it now. So let me introduce our panelists. Next to me is Beth Comstock. Beth is Vice Chair of General Electric. She is in charge of the operation called GE Business Innovations, which includes the development of new business units, new markets, new service models. It includes the venture arm, GE Ventures and Licensing. It includes GE Lighting, and it includes all of GE Sales, Marketing, and Communications. Next to Beth is Ron Conway. To everyone who's from this area, Ron needs absolutely no introduction. If you're not from this area, Ron has been called the godfather of Silicon Valley. Someone said he knows what happened in every deal in the Valley half the time because he arranged it. He made early investments in PayPal, Google, Facebook, Twitter, many others. Fortune said when it comes to picking the next big thing, there's a right way and a wrong way, and then there's the Conway. And that's what we're going to find out. Next to Ron is Renaud Laplanche, who is the founder and CEO of Lending Club, a peer-to-peer lending business that is disrupting the banking business and has drawn the attention and the concern of traditional bankers because it's working. So we've got three very different perspectives here. So Ron, I got to ask, what's the Conway? How do you think about finding growth and opportunity?
Well, it's all about meeting and attracting great founders. So SV Angel has been around for 21 years.
Right. SV Angel is Ron's.
And it's all about the people. So we invest when these companies have 2 or 3 people and are, a few weeks or months old, and just picking them is something that is an art.
Right.
But it's all about the people, because the ideas morph a lot. Right. And one of the traits we look for in these founders is determination. Because if you look at PayPal, Google, Twitter, Facebook, these companies did not get really up to their stride for 4 years. Right. And those are 4 hard years where that founder is doing everything for the first time. And so we look for those special people. And with all that comes growth.
Right. Which is remarkable because the vast majority of people, if they were thinking they wanted to do what you do, would focus for sure on the idea, the model, who's the competition and all that. You can kind of put that aside and look at the people. Now, you mentioned determination, but there must be more in addition to that. What do you look for?
Well, persistence, the ability to communicate. Yeah. Keep in mind, once these 3 people build something that's great, right, they have to go infectiously get other engineers to agree with their vision, right, and leave whatever great job they're at to join this raw startup. Right. And that's hard. Right. So you have to be a great communicator, and you got to have enough charisma, right, to be able to recruit. But as I always say, growth is the lifeblood of innovation. And that is how all these companies measure themselves, is user growth. And if it's a consumer company, it's user growth. And then as they mature, then it's about the growth of sales.
Right. It's an interesting approach. It's worked out pretty well.
You bet. It's always the people.
Beth, you are in a way, doing something like Ron, you're looking for new businesses, new markets, ventures to invest in, but you're representing a very big, established, successful company, General Electric. What are you looking for?
Well, we're not as big as we used to be, but
That's
I
right.
think that, I think like Ron, you're looking for a good leader.
Right.
But for a company like GE, why do you partner with a startup? What are you looking to do? I mean, you're looking for speed, you're looking to access that you might not be able to have on your own.
Right.
I think increasingly the challenges we all face are just too complicated to do alone, so you need to do it more and more with partners.
Right.
So the two biggest trends we're looking at right now, the things that are really reshaping our company, you know, a 130-year-old company, you have to reshape yourselves when the time is right, and we've done it over and over. For us, it's about the industrial internet. So we're looking at a lot of partners, leaderships, and how do you connect things, in our case, really big, meaningful things to the internet, to the mobile backbone of the economy. And also, how do you reinvent manufacturing? So those two things, so a good example is you want somebody that has good leadership, but a good capability to deliver it. So we're partnering, for example, with a drone company to say, how do we take that capability and apply it in industry? Right. So what you're looking for are partners that have a good platform, a good model to work with, and then the flexibility to work with us to apply it and put it into other industries.
So I'm interested in how you allocate your time, because you can make these investments, you know, through GE Ventures, but an awful lot of what you're talking about, frankly, is just finding people who can help you with this larger vision. And you may or may not invest in the business, but you want to be involved with them because that's the growth opportunity you see.
Exactly, and some of the models we don't invest at all. We'll just do a commercial partnership, and we've put aside certain money in our model to partner with these companies, and maybe over time you take an investment, especially in advanced manufacturing where technologies are just starting to scale. And so we actually put money to work to figure out, can we do this application with the customer? We help de-risk the startup for the customer,
right.
And we also, you know, give the customer confidence that this is going to work. The other thing we're doing is taking what's old in the company and trying to make it new. So it also goes for internal pieces, and how do you take internal leadership teams? And we did it most recently. We launched a new energy company called Current, and it is old and new. It's taking pieces of our lighting business, our oldest business, right. And reinventing with LED and, you know, intelligent environments, a whole new energy efficiency company that mashes up with solar and storage. And so there's also a piece of that that says, can you reinvent yourself? And
I'm going to ask you, we're going to go into a little more detail on Current, because that is a very instructive story. But I know I want to ask you, because you're the person they invest in if they decide to invest. First of all, when you listen to Ron's remarks and to Beth's, how do you respond? How does it strike you?
Well, I think I agree with the statement that it's all about the people, but the people in our case is not just me and the management team at Lending Club and all the employees who work there, but it's also the people on the marketplace. So Lending Club, I think, is a good example of how online marketplaces and the sharing economy are transforming the way we access products and services. Right. So Lending Club is a credit marketplace, and it's fundamentally disrupting the way credit gets formed and delivered. So instead of a traditional sort of bank method where a bank would collect deposits and borrow money and turn around and make loans, we've set up a credit marketplace, a two-sided marketplace, where there are people on both sides. So investors provide the capital and take the risk on the loans being made on the marketplace. And then consumers and small business owners obtain credit on the other side of the marketplace. And I think we benefit from two fundamental mechanisms that help us deliver a better experience and grow faster than traditional banks and deliver more value to our customers. In the sense that we operate at a lower cost, being fully online and using technology to lower cost. But we're also very capital light and benefit from a lot of the network effects that come from an online marketplace that the traditional bank wouldn't benefit from. And that's allowing us to grow, even now that we're a public company, and so we've been a public company for almost a year now, and we're still growing at just over 100% year-over-year revenue growth. So it's a lot faster than the pace any bank could be growing because of these two mechanisms of being capital light and the network effects with each side of the marketplace feeding each other and making the utility of being a member of the marketplace greater as the marketplace gets bigger.
As it gets bigger, right. And by using those two aspects, you are disrupting the business, A, in where you get your funding, because you don't have to have deposits, you don't ask for deposits, and B, you're making the experience of borrowing, which for small businesses is a notoriously terrible experience traditionally, into something that's fast, easy, and even sort of pleasant, right?
Yeah, and making it fast and easy when you deliver credit is absolutely critical because like with any other business, you would want to make it fast and easy because that impacts positively your conversion rate and the efficiency of your marketing funnel, and you just pull more people through the marketing funnel. But particularly with credit, when you make it easier for the right type of people, so with the most credit-worthy consumers, they happen to be the least patient and the ones who have the most options. Right. So if you make the process harder, you not only lose customers, you lose your best credit quality customers because they have more options than the others.
Right.
So the efficiency of the funnel and making it simple and enjoyable is really key. And so as part of making sure we deliver a great experience, we measure our Net Promoter Score, which really measures the likelihood of our customers to recommend our products to their friends and colleagues. And so we've had a NPS in the 70s since we started measuring it years ago.
It is extremely high in Net Promoter Score.
Which is, and so the last reading was 78, and it's very high by any standard, but particularly in banking and financial services, the average is in the 20s.
Right.
So we deliver measurably better experience.
Right. Ron, there's an issue here that both you and Beth can address, which is finding opportunity is one thing, but you also have an ability to help the entrepreneurs or businesses that you invest in. How do you do that? How do you add value to them?
Well, we give our entrepreneurs just a lot of business advice because I was an entrepreneur myself 100 years ago. But a lot of advice and then a lot of door opening.
Right.
SV Angel's been blessed because we invested in Google, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and those are the companies that a lot of our startups want to partner with.
Right.
We help build the management teams of those companies, so we have unique access.
Right.
So giving our founders unique access for partnerships and business development, because once you have a great product, it's about distribution.
Right.
It's about getting the word out that the product exists.
Right.
And partnering will help do that.
Yeah.
And if we help founders, we'll get a good reputation, and they'll tell other founders that we're a good investor, and then you get better deal flow.
Yeah. Beth, I can imagine that having GE invest in one's company could be a great attraction. What is it that you can offer them that maybe others cannot?
Well, I think if you're a great startup, you can get money from a lot of places.
Right.
So it's not about the money.
Right.
I think if anything, the money becomes a commitment that we're serious.
Right.
For us, it's access to markets, it's access to new customers, it's access to scale, it's access to learning. I want to learn how a supply chain really works. Can you teach me? It's access to leadership. We actually take our partner companies to school. We send them to Crotonville. Every quarter we have a leadership development session for founders, some that we're invested in, some we're just partnered with. So I think that's the value. It means that people in your team have to almost be relationship managers with the startup companies, because in a big company, I mean, we're trying to be a lot faster, and we are. We're a lot smaller than we used to be, but we're still big, and we're still not as fast as we want to be. So if you're a founder, you can get lost. Or the opposite is, we love you so much, we squeeze them to death, right? We just like, oh, we love you so much, and then before you know it, they have no oxygen left because we want to do everything with them. And so I think smart companies that we work with, they're very focused. I'll give you an example. I met yesterday with the folks we've just partnered with and invested in a company called MatterFab, and they do 3D printing of materials. Right. And we're just very surgical. We're going to have them work with our aviation business and hopefully with our power and water. So you need to prove the theory of the case both ways, both sides.
Let's look for a minute into Current, this business that you mentioned, because 7 or 8 years ago, GE Lighting had a for sale sign on it. Yep. I mean, it seemed amazing. As you say, it's the oldest, the company founded by Thomas Edison wanted to get out of lighting. It didn't sell basically because of the financial crisis, but now it has been transformed into this engine of growth. What happened?
Well, a couple of things, and I love it as a story because one, the lighting team incubated an LED business. They did a skunk works. They, had a small seed of technology they had done through acquisition, and they just self-funded what is now a billion-dollar revenue business from themselves because they wanted to do it and they scaled it. And I think in Silicon Valley to scale a billion-dollar business is a pretty big accomplishment, right? So the team did that. And luckily, the world's coming that way. And with LEDs, it's all the technology. You can embed the sensors and controls, and it becomes a mechanism for intelligent environments. So LEDs are basically efficiency and intelligence. And along with our investment in the industrial internet, those things come together in a really powerful way.
Right. So
Thank goodness we didn't sell that part.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so what we used to call a light bulb is now
is a brain. It's a nerve center.
Right.
Basically, it gathers intelligence and relays intelligence, and all kind of applications can start to be launched on it, like we're doing in cities like San Diego, where you can figure out, hey, is this parking place open or not? Do I need to send someone around in a retail setting? You can connect with customer loyalty and connect with the inventory. So we're not doing all that, but it suddenly becomes this really incredible infrastructure. And there was a period of time when it might not have been there. And so I think the message here is that you can, give rebirth, and you can transform, and that skunk works work in a big company, and you got to have some vision about it.
Renaud, let's think about geographical areas for growth. One thing about a totally web-based business is that expanding is easier it's not all that easy, but it's easier for you than for some. Where are you looking to grow geographically?
Yeah, so at Landing Club, we're probably a bit different from some of the other online marketplaces from that standpoint for a couple of reasons. So one is, although the mechanisms we've developed are very applicable and the problems we solved are very much relevant in other parts of the world, there are sort of specific regulations that come with both credit and investing that are different in every country in the world. So when we look at Europe, we don't look at one market, we really look at 12 different set of regulations. And so that probably makes us less likely to go international sort of early than other type of companies. And the other is, quite frankly, the size of the US credit market. I mean, we've done about $13 billion in loans since inception, and it sounds like a big number, but it's a $13 trillion market. So we are nowhere near saturating the US market. And so each time we start looking at other geographies, we look at it, and then we look back at the size of the US market and say, okay, let's keep doing what we're doing.
We got a long way to run here. I want to ask you how you started the company. Because as we're thinking about, how do we find opportunity? Where are we going to find growth? You can do it kind of top down or bottom up. How did you start this business?
Yeah, so I'm sure Ron would agree with this. I think that the best ideas come from personal experiences. Right. And my personal experience was one day when I was on vacation, and I probably had too much time on my hands, so I started reading a credit card statement, which is not something I would normally do. And I realized that if I was going to carry over the balance on my card to the next month, I would be paying 18% interest rate, which I thought was a really high interest rate. But then the next piece of mail I opened was my savings account statement coming from the same bank, where I was earning 0.5% on my high yield savings account. So that spread, it's a gigantic spread. I mean, when you're an entrepreneur and you see a spread of, so again, 17.5 points, you immediately start thinking, okay, what's the reason for it? Where's the money going? Why are the banks giving me sort of 0.5% interest rate on my money and charging me 17% or 18% on the other side? And so I just started doing some work just out of curiosity, and quickly realized that a lot of that spread went into funding the operating cost of the banking system and the inefficiencies of collecting deposits on one side and making loans on the other, and that process of transformation of capital that the banks are realizing, of transforming short-term liquid deposits into illiquid longer-term loans. And so I started thinking, okay, would there be a more cost-efficient mechanism to allocate capital from the source of capital, the depositors and the investors on one side, and the use of capital, the borrowers on the other side. And the very basic idea of Lending Club was, okay, would an online marketplace be a more cost-efficient mechanism to allocate capital? Right. I think the answer is yes.
It turned out to be yes. Ron, with your model, where it all depends on the people, presumably you have to then meet a lot of people. You have to meet a lot of founders to decide which ones you like. How do you do that?
Well, it's not just me. SP Angel has 12 people. I believe this is a young person's business, so I'm the oldest on the team by double or triple. And we have all people 30 years or younger evaluating these other young entrepreneurs, and they have become the pickers. I'm more the advisor. But it's a tedious process. We only invest in 1 out of every 50 companies that we look at, which means we can only physically meet with a few of them.
Yeah.
So if we're going to meet with a founder, we're well on our way to investing.
How do you make the first cut? Because otherwise it would take you all the hours in the day just to talk with someone.
It's based on the referral source, who sent us the lead. It's based on the quality of the executive summary. Do we know any of the team members? And then that will warrant a phone call. So even getting a phone call back is kind of a big deal. And then if the phone call goes well, then we ask them to come in and meet.
Okay. I'm going to invite questions here in just a second, but Beth, I want to ask basically the same question of you. These two guys are taking more of a bottom-up approach, right? You're taking more of a top-down approach because you've got some big industries, some big businesses in GE that you strategically have decided are the ones you want to focus on and serve and build. So with that as the starting point, how do you find the people and the businesses that you want to move into?
Well, I'd say for us, it's a little bit of both. I mean, it's very ambidextrous. I think it's really, you think about the whole system that you're trying to do to grow. So it's just a lot of face time. And we have teams that meet with different startups or small companies that we want to partner with. And it's the leader, it's the idea, it's the speed with which that we think they can help us or we can help them. Those things all come together. But we'll evaluate thousands of, we have 4 different practice areas on ventures, and then there's just a lot of different partnership opportunities. I make it my business, and I feel like that's partly my job. You heard from Mark Benioff earlier. I mean, I try to do very similar things. We'll go wherever there's a new idea or a new business to meet or understand. I think I mean, part of what we've done with this is driven more out of a market-backed perspective. It's really been market development. So what's next, what's new? I will go to the ends of the earth to find it, and it often means meeting very untraditional sources. And so you're really almost starting like a scouting process, and you just observe the trends. You start to see a couple of trends match up. This is becoming a bigger thing. Do we partner together? Should we do a project together? Could we work together? And then it starts to sort of go from there. But you have to have scouts. And it's not just investment scouts. You have to have people live in the market to understand where change is happening in order to say, okay, does this translate back to GE?
Right. Questions? Comments? We get a microphone here, please.
You have to hang out with people like Faith Popcorn.
Nice commercial, Beth. Thank you. Faith Popcorn Spring Reserve. So, I mean, I do know Beth, to be transparent, and I find her the freshest chairperson I've ever met. And I actually never asked her this, and I ask all of you, how do you stay fresh? Where do you go? What do you do? I know drinking a lot is part of it, but...
I think for myself, it's just constant. I think constantly always wanting to just ask why and reading everything you can get your hands on. Ask everybody you meet, what are you interested in? What things have got your attention? What are you excited about? So I think having a network, it's not just for the sake of, hey, I got a cool network, but that is your intelligence network. We've actually created something we call our Global Insights Network, which is just, finding futurists and other people, the Faith Popcorns in every market, the people who are doing really amazing technology, and bringing them together, and we just get to hang out with them. Right. So sometimes it's just creating the mechanisms where you can understand what people are talking about.
For us, it's hanging out with these awesome founders and just absorbing their ideas. If you think about it, the founders of these companies, we're looking into a crystal ball of the future. These founders are the future. 20 years ago, it was Larry and Sergey, and they were telling me the future of search, and Mark Zuckerberg was telling me that he was going to connect the world, and it's these visionaries that keep us informed and motivated.
So I think for us, it's really growth and innovation. I mean, when you're growing 100% year over year, it means you're probably doing something new pretty much every single day, whether it's deliberate or just a new problem to solve that you didn't have the day before. And just growth comes with a number of growth pains and issues to solve. So there's never a dull moment when you grow that fast. And we're also always trying to push the envelope on innovation. I think the way we got to where we are in terms of being very useful to more than 1 million customers is by innovating. But we don't want to stop there and rely on that one innovation that happened 8 years ago when I started the company. We're continuing to always push the boundaries of innovation and always question the status quo and always wonder, okay, why are we doing this that way? Is there a better way? Is there a process improvement that could deliver better customer satisfaction, better experience? Is there some automation that could generate more efficiency? So there's always something new that keeps us fresh.
Jeff, one more thing to add. I think there's so many mechanisms now, so many platforms for people just to query the world too, just to say, hey world, I have a problem, can you solve it? Right. Open innovation. I mean, they're getting very sophisticated, and I think that has to be part of the mix too, to figure out what's next and what's new. You'd always be surprised. We've done a couple of challenges, and the people who come, solve an aviation challenge, and you get an epidemiologist in Switzerland who has the answer. So I think the more open and the more challenging you can be to the world at large, you are going to find some really unexpected connections.
Wow. Yes, please.
Solving problems and using technology to solve problems, I think that's what we've been discussing. And we've also talked about the age of these people who are solving problems, very young, less than 30 years old. The only example that I've seen, I've heard about is in terms of solving a business problem has really been Salesforce.com. Are there not other examples? Because I'm sure businesses are having problems, but all the examples that we are talking about is consumer problems, whether it be a transportation problem, which is somebody not getting a cab on time, or the other examples that you've given. Can you talk a little bit about business problems, startups trying to solve them? What kind of people are there who are going to be solving these problems? Will it be somebody who's 25 years old, who's never worked in industry? Or is it going to be somebody from the industry who's going to come out and do this? Some thoughts on that?
Well, you've got Workday, which is solving HR issues, NetSuite, which is accounting for mid to large stage companies. There's really an explosion going on in internet SaaS software today. So there's hundreds of companies that are getting founded that are doing nothing but solving business problems.
And we see a lot of, I'd say with the arrival of the industrial internet and the Internet of Things, a ton happening in cybersecurity for business. I mean, that right now there's just, all the data crunching, artificial intelligence to solve business problems. There are a lot of hardware startups being founded from people who left companies, big companies, and now doing it themselves. Someone out of Boeing who goes and starts a drone company, people who came out of NASA who are starting satellite companies. So I think you're seeing a real renaissance in the kind of hardware meets software and people coming out of big companies to do that.
So not all 22 years old.
Not all. I mean, it's usually they're healthy number of 20-somethings around, but I'd say in some of these places you're seeing people 40s, 50s who have a lot of experience, and it's kind of that pairing up of the experience and maybe the speed or the nimbleness that seems to be a pretty good formula.
I know.
People like Mark Benioff, Salesforce is a very entrepreneurial environment. We know lots of founders who have left Salesforce to start companies in the SaaS space.
I think at this stage we're not solving problems for large enterprises, but we are really being very helpful, I think, for small business owners. And I think there are over 15 million small businesses in this country that in aggregate deliver more job growth than large enterprises, and they're the main source of job creation in the US. So it's really critical to think about large enterprises, but also realize that these small businesses are really the lifeblood of the economy, and our ability to sort of operate at a low cost in such a way that enables us to make small balance commercial loans, which is really very difficult for the banks to do, has enabled sort of a lot of small business lending that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for that innovation of sort of technology-enabled underwriting and servicing. So that's another side of the coin of helping small businesses.
Yeah, Square is another company that's filed to go public. That company solely exists to serve small businesses in card transactions, but also a suite of products that allow the small business to run efficiently.
Right. We're just about out of time, but I want to ask each of you for a concluding thought, which is we started out by asking, where are you going to find growth and opportunity? You have very different perspectives, and I want to ask each of you sort of the bottom line thought you would leave with this group as a short answer to that question. And Beth, you get to start.
I think the problems we're trying to solve are too complicated to do alone, so it's about partnerships. And I think it's big to small, and you have to dedicate the resources. You have to hold yourself to different kinds of metrics. Speed is something you have to hold yourself accountable to. Right. But I'm a big believer in partnership.
Yep.
I think innovation is the lifeblood of the growth of the U.S. economy. And anything we can do to get out of the way and allow that innovation to grow faster, we need to do that.
Right.
Immigration reform, patent reform, getting rid of all these archaic laws that block Uber and Airbnb and the sharing economy. You know, if we just got out of the way, we could innovate faster.
Right. So you're looking for places that are friendly to innovation and then to founders who are
Yeah,
really good at it.
make the ecosystem
Yeah.
friendly to the innovation economy. It is what's creating all the new jobs.
Yeah, right now.
I think again the internet, online marketplaces, and more recently the sharing economy have really provided us with the tools to transform entire industries and remove a lot of frictions.
Yeah.
And when you remove friction, you accelerate business, you accelerate the economy, and you generate growth.
Yeah, and you removed friction in a big, big way, in a huge part of the economy.
In a very large market, and we've only done a tiny bit of it, but yeah, we're just getting started.